you hear that thunder off in the distance? It's been raining pretty much all day here today. Time to do a project that I've been putting off for a long time. Hey everybody, Ray here. Locked inside today because of the rain. It's beautiful outside though. The temperature has really come down. It's been in the upper 90s here and we needed something to cool it down, and it was too dry as well. So we're going to do a project in the garage today. About 4 or 5 years ago, we were out in Napa Valley. And I'm usually the first one up in the morning when we're on vacation, so I usually go outside, go for walks, or do something to occupy my time. On this particular walk, I found a wine stay off on this ditch in the side of the road. So obviously it was on some truck with a bunch of barrels and it fell off. And I thought, I'm going to bring that home. For one thing, it's kind of a good memory of a nice trip that I had out there in Napa Valley. For another thing, I could use this for a myriad of different projects. I'm going to show you how I'm going to make something to hang my guitars with this. If this got any interest to you, stick around. And don't forget, if you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe. So I've got my wine stay, and I took it down into the basement where I have my guitars, and I just laid my guitars on here. Originally, I thought that I would do 3, but it's just a little too crowded for 3, so I think I'll only be able to get 2 guitars on here. So what I did was I measured in about 1/3, so that's just right where this metal band was on these stays right here. So that'll be a good point for me to put my hooks. I went to Home Depot and picked up a couple of hooks that look like this. So I'll be able to screw that into the wine stay. These are coated so that it won't scratch my guitars. And the other good thing about it is it's got this little lip that curls up on the end. So when I hang my guitars in there, they won't slide out because it's got something to catch them and hold them. These were $1.86, I think. So I picked up 3 of these, even though now I'm only going to use 2. So I marked to get the center of my wine stay here. Did that on both sides. And what I'm going to do is just use a little hole punch here to get a place where I want my drill to start. I'm going to do that on both sides. Now, when I start my drill, it's not going to want to slide around on this edge. It'll fit right into that little hole that I just made with that punch. So I'll start out by drilling a smaller pilot hole. This is obviously going to take a pretty big hole for that size screw. So I'm going to start with a pilot hole. I want to keep my drill fairly straight as I go in. I don't want it angled to be at a 90-degree with the wine stave because it's curved. I want it to be more straight up and down. So there's my pilot hole. After drilling a small pilot hole, the next thing you'll want to do is to drill a hole large enough to accept your screw here. The way I usually do that is I'll take my drill and I'll put it in front of that screw. And then what I look for is that the edge of the screw, the threads of the screw, let me get this so you can show it. The edges of the screw are still outside of the drill bit. So what that'll allow me to do is to get a big enough hole that I can get this down there without too much effort, but I still have all the threads catching in the wood. The other reason I want to do that is because this wood here is a little bit dry. So if I don't make my hole big enough, this will expand that wood and it may crack that wine stay, and we don't want that. Now we'll come back and drill the larger hole right straight, same place I've got the pilot hole. Now you might notice I have two sets of holes in here. That's because originally I was going to put two electric guitars on here, which are not very wide, and they would have fit right there. I decided, the more I thought about it, that's kind of heavy. Solid body electric guitars tend to be pretty heavy. So I moved my hole over here, and so I'm going to put a hollow body acoustic guitar on one side and a semi-acoustic guitar on the other side. I'll show you that after I get it hung on the wall. This here, I'll put a little stain in that. It'll look like it's part of the wine stay. So once you've got your holes drilled, you just take your hook, apply a little pressure, the threads will start to catch, and you just start screwing that in there. Now, I should point out that when I was thinking about making this, I went and I looked to see if I could buy one. And yes, I could find one to buy. It was made of a smaller wine stay, probably about this big. It only had one guitar holder in it, and it was $86. Like I said, these were $1.86, and this was free because I found it. So instead of paying $86, I'm going to have a nice little guitar rack here holding two guitars, and it's only going to be around $4. Once you get to the point where you can't turn this anymore with your hand, then just use a long screwdriver or a pipe or anything that you can get in there just to give you a little bit more leverage and turn that all the way in. Now, the end of this, the pointed end that's going down, is going to stick out from the bottom of that wine stay because it's longer than the wine stay is wide. So I want to be careful that I don't go too far that'll be poking my wall. But I checked it out, and if I go about that far right there, it's still all the way through, doesn't show any of the screw on top, and it's below, it's not touching my workbench, so it won't touch my wall either. Now getting the wine stay hung on the wall will be a little bit of a challenge because of the curve of the wine stay. So it's only close to the wall at these 2 points here. I want to make sure that I catch two studs when I put this in. So what I'm going to do is put this backer board on the wall first, and then I will screw this onto my backer board. This will hold it nice and firm against the wall. So I simply found the center of this board here, and I found the center of my wine stay. I could line those centers up and then just rock it forward because I knew where the center of the board was because I measured that. And that's where the screws for my wine hooks will have to go into my board. So I will drill 2 holes here with enough room to allow those to slip inside that board. The second thing that I've done is I've marked off 8 inches from the center on each side. Now, if I want to catch studs, the studs are going to be 16 inches apart. So if I put holes for drills on 8 inches from each side of that center, then this board will be anchored on the wall and anchored into the studs behind the drywall. So you'll remember that I wound up with 2 holes on each side of my wine stay. That's because I was originally going to hang 2 electric guitars on here, which aren't that wide, and they would have fit here perfectly. But then I changed my mind and decided to hang my acoustic guitars. Those guitars are wider, so I had to put these wider apart to accommodate those guitars. So that left me with my 2 seemingly mistake holes. One thing I'll tell you about woodworking projects, you wind up having to cover a lot of mistakes. But in this case, I realized that I still had to screw this piece, the wine stay, onto my backer board. So I just got a couple of appropriate sized screws that I could put in like that. I'll come back after the fact and I'll use a black magic marker to make both of these screws match. And then it'll actually look like they match this, and it was part of the plan all along. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a mistake at all. Why, I planned it this way all along. That's the ticket. That's the way I planned it. Well, our guitar hanger, made from a stay out of an old wine barrel, came out pretty good. It was a really easy project. I hope this video was of value to you. If it was, don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.